So that's it. We've seen all our cool, minimal and naked houses. But which, if any, will win a place on the shortlist? In the running are Highgate House, a monument to refined minimalism in brick. Hidden House, obsessively and beautifully crafted into place on a ridiculously restricted site. Flint's 3 charred black buildings around a Persian courtyard. And Whole House, a light-filled home that winds itself around a central garden. Deborah Saunt is the chair of the judges' panel, and she has the verdict. So, Deborah, you've chosen a shortlisted project for this category.
We've got one, Hidden House.
Hidden House.
It really does. It felt effortless because of this natural light, just linking it all together. It can drop from above, it can be in slices. He doesn't just put a big roof light in the centre of the room. He balances 2 extraordinary roof lights that come and almost touch each other.
So, Hidden House completes the shortlist of 7 homes. Now all that remains is to discover who will reign victorious. Which home will be named House of the Year for 2017. So, we've now finished our tour of the long list and found out who's on the shortlist for House of the Year 2017. But before we discover the champion of champions, let's consider what makes a winner. And what would you choose if you were a judge? Maybe I can give you some pointers here. Is the building well built? Is it fit for purpose and solid? Is it ergonomic and easy to use? Does it bring joy and pleasure into your life every day? And context, does the building respond well to where it is? Actually, no. Does the building enhance where it is? The positive energy of great buildings can reverberate through the ages. But which of this year's shortlist have what it takes? Have the magnitude to do that? Could it be Ness Point, an adaptable, polished and sinuous cliff-top home near Dover? The surreal space-age vessel that is 6 Wood Lane? Caring wood, inspired by castles, oast houses and the principle of shared family life. Shawn House, a composed and modest rural retreat built against a garden wall. New House of Auchengreen, an energetic farm-like collection of sharp zinc boxes. The Quest, a powerful, cantilevered and beautiful expression of the modernist home. Or Hidden House, bristling with craftsmanship. Tucked and folded away in London. After all the deliberation, there can be only one winner, and I'm on my way to congratulate them. With a few hints, but no pregnant pauses, the winner of House of the Year for 2017 is Caring Wood. Set in the Kent countryside and built for 3 generations of the same family, it's partly inspired by the traditional oast houses of the area. If ever a home marked its place, time and context with more confidence and assertion, I've yet to see it. Almost 8 years in the making, this is not just a remarkably well-built and beautiful building. It's a mix of private rooms and shared communal space that offers a new way of thinking about how life might be shared. There's a higher purpose here, beyond the need to make a landmark. Many congratulations.
Thank you. It's a wonderful recognition of all of that effort that we've put in, but also a wonderful team of many, many skilled people.
We know that this project was totally unusual to be working at this scale, that this project was a house that was for 100 years. It wasn't just for 10 or 20. It was something that needed to mature and grow.
The views from the house, from this piece of land, are remarkable. We've got the views of North Downs and the Pilgrim's Way. It's also the centre of the Garden of England.
And you've planted a lot of fruit trees.
We have. We've planted over 27,000 trees. That link between house and landscape is very much part of the tradition of the English country house.
This is a 21st century country mansion designed for multi-generational living. And yet its language lies in the vernacular of local oast houses and the landscape of Kent. Although full of intersecting angles, twisted roof lines and extraordinary geometry, the house is designed around one quite simple idea.
We have the square with the courtyard in the centre, with 4 separate houses on each corner.
Yeah. There are no pretensions to grandeur here. At every turn, this building is rooted in the language of the region. 150,000 tiles were handmade from local clay. Kentish ragstone came from down the road. The coppiced chestnut cladding and the terracotta flooring come from nearby. And there's no pretension or grandeur to the layout either. It's relaxed and informal and begins in the private little satellite buildings. From the upstairs study in this oast house, I come down to the accommodation for this oast house. It's got a kitchenette, a utility room, sitting room, bedroom, and it leads to the more sophisticated family rooms with a courtyard. The 4 long rooms around the central courtyard, one on each side, run sociably into each other. It's certainly not ostentatious. Until you get to those big public areas where everything gets much, much bigger and louder, including the space above your head. In the tradition of great country houses, there's a performance space and art gallery, resources to generously share with a wider audience.
I worried it would be monumental, but in fact it was incredibly intimate. It's just so simple. There are no gold taps, there are no bells and whistles. It's just beautifully sculpted space.
As much thought has been put into the landscaping and tree planting as the house itself. The ancient site of caring wood on which it sits will thrive again. How does the building and this garden and the landscape beyond relate and grow?
What we've tried to put in place, I suppose the structure for here is something that can grow and change. So both the house and the landscape. This is really not the end of the project, this is the beginning of the project. And what happens over the next 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, that's actually the exciting bit, where we go from here.
Well, not difficult to see why this one, is it? It resonates to where it is and to the people that made it. Oh, and by the way, it's also zero carbon in use as well, I forgot to say. You know, architectural theorists have a term to describe this kind of building. They call it critical regionalism. But let's not use that term. Let's instead use the language and the ideas that our day and age has to offer. Let's think of this architecture instead as organic, free range, and locally grown.